At Hume Pine, we recognise that our business has an impact on the forests that provide our most important raw material, radiata pine. We insist on being environmentally aware and are committed to the care, protection and preservation of our natural resources, forests. The Hume Doors and Timber Group was established in Australia in 1953 and has grown to become the largest 100% family-owned timber and door manufacturer in Australasia. Due to the expansion of the company as an ever-expanding family-owned business, the Hume Door and Timber Group took the opportunity to purchase the New Zealand remanufacturing plant of John Creen & Company to form Hume Pine in September 2003. The Hume Group consists of manufacturing and warehouse operations in New Zealand, Australia, Malaysia and the United States. Hume Pine New Zealand has over 100 employees, operating 2 manufacturing units and a distribution centre from its sites in Rotorua. Hume Pine is the lead supplier of the most comprehensive range of finishing timber and door products in New Zealand. Hume Pine offers an extensive range of radiata pine and MDF dressed boards and finishing timber profiles, door jambs, panelling and external cladding. These products are available in raw, treated H3.1 and pre-primed and treated H3.1 that comply to New Zealand standard specifications. Our products are available in modern and contemporary profiles to simplify or create a feature of your home's design. We also offer a selected range of cut-to-length products and custom profiling service, should you wish to create a unique finish to your project. Number 1 Clear's radiata is clear on 4 faces with very minimal blemishes. Number 2 Clear's radiata has a minimum of 3 clear faces, while the reverse face incorporates some natural timber defects. Dressing grade radiata is recommended for a painted finish. This product includes sound, tight knots and other natural timber defects. Clear finger-jointed radiata is appropriate and recommended for painted interior finishings and exterior use when treated. At Hume Pine New Zealand, we believe that good design depends on attention to detail and a good quality of finish. For this reason, our range of profiles are manufactured with care and in accordance to industry standards to give your home the finishing detail it deserves. It is important to remember that timber is a natural product and it will react to changes in climatic conditions during the life of the product. Uneven swelling, raised grain and resin bleed are generally due to varying climatic conditions. It is possible to minimize this, however, by adhering to best practice in storage, installation and finishing. Please refer to our specifications available online at www.humepine.nz. Hume Pine NZ produces pine trim moulding profiles from plantation-grown clear and finger-jointed radiata pine, which is graded, defected, kiln-dried and finger-jointed prior to machining. Pine trim mouldings are also available pressure-treated to hazard class H3.1 and factory primer-coated in untreated or H3.1. As pine trim is a kiln-dried product, care must be taken to make sure pine trim remains dry at all times during storage and delivery to site. Kiln-dried timber will absorb moisture from the atmosphere, which can lead to dimensional change by expanding and contracting according to the moisture content of the product. We would like you to get the very best out of our products. To this end, once on site, remove the profiles from their packaging and allow them to reach EMC, equilibrium moisture content, prior to installation. Store pine trim on a well-ventilated, level surface on bearers at least 150 mm off the ground. and ensure the product is protected from moisture, excessive heat and direct sunlight. We recommend the following methods of installation. For 10mm thick pine trim mouldings, use 40 to 50mm finishing brads so that a minimum framing penetration of 25mm is reached. For 18mm thick profiles, use 50 to 60mm finishing brads. It is important not to over-fix pine trim mouldings, and we do not recommend nailing within 20mm of the end of the profile, as splitting may occur. When joining the profile, miter cuts should be used and the joint must be glued using a PVA adhesive. Pine trim mouldings can also be fixed using contact and wall adhesives in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. For raw or unprimed profiles, fill all nail holes with acrylic interior filler and lightly sand with 180 grit sandpaper when cured. Apply one coat of oil-based primer undercoat to the mouldings, as acrylic primer may cause raised grain. Allow to dry. Sand any high grain back to a smooth finish. Apply 2 to 3 coats of acrylic enamel, sanding lightly between coats. For the factory primer coated product, fill all nail holes with acrylic interior filler and lightly sand with 180 grit sandpaper when cured. Apply 2 to 3 coats of acrylic enamel, sanding lightly between coats. For finishing radiata pine clear profiles, fill all nail holes with a plastic wood putty and lightly sand with 280 to 320 grit sandpaper. Apply first coat of clear coating according to paint manufacturer's recommendations. Let it cure, lightly sand any high grain and apply a further 2 to 3 coats, sanding lightly in between. Silk trim mouldings are manufactured from HMR, high moisture resistant medium density fiberboard, which is a reconstituted wood product containing wood fiber, waxes and formaldehyde resins. Like all timber-based products, silk trim MDF mouldings should be stored under a cover in a dry, well-ventilated, sheltered environment and be protected from exposure to moisture. For best results, store silk trim MDF mouldings horizontally off the floor in a dry location. Care needs to be taken when storing the product in a vertical position, as breakage may occur if handled incorrectly. When storing the product vertically, ensure the product is handled as close as possible to the center of the length to minimize the chance of rupture. We recommend the following methods of installation. For 12mm thick silk trim, use 40 to 50mm finishing brads so that a minimum framing penetration of 25mm is reached. For 18mm thick profiles, use 50 to 60mm finishing brads. It is important not to over-fix silk trim, and we do not recommend nailing within 20mm of the end or 5mm from the edge of the profile, as splitting may occur. When joining the profile, miter cuts should be used and the joint must be glued using a PVA adhesive. Silk trim profiles can also be fixed using contact and wall adhesives in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. Silk trim profiles are factory sanded and finished with 2 coats of a premium acrylic primer to achieve a superb finish. Fill all nail holes with a plastic wood filler and lightly sand with 280 to 320 grit sandpaper when cured. Apply 2 coats of acrylic enamel, sanding lightly in between coats. Hume Pine New Zealand weatherboards are manufactured from finger-jointed clear radiata pine. Pine-clad weatherboards are manufactured to a standard length of 6.3 metres and kiln-dried to a target moisture content between 10 and 14%. Pine-clad weatherboards are treated to H3.1 hazard class with a light organic solvent preservative, LOSP. Pine-clad weatherboards are suitable under the New Zealand Building Code Clause E2. external moisture for use as described in the acceptable solution E2/AS1 for timber weatherboards. Hume Pine exterior cladding products have a 15-year limited warranty period based on the storage, preparation, installation recommendations being followed. It is important to schedule the timing of deliveries to site, as prolonged storage, especially in unfinished damp buildings, increases the chance of moisture uptake, which may result in swelling and possible distortion of the boards. H3.1 treated timber should be stored under cover, preferably inside, at least 100 mm above the ground or concrete, as per NZS 3602/2003. Timber weatherboards are included in acceptable solution E2/AS1 paragraph 3 using battens that may be structurally fixed. All types of weatherboard profiles may be used in low-risk buildings. Only bevel-back, rusticated and vertical shiplap weatherboards should be used in high-risk buildings. For information on requirements for drained, ventilated cavities, refer to the acceptable solution E2/AS1 paragraph 9.1.8. Although Hume Pine New Zealand weatherboards are coated with a factory-applied architectural primer, it is recommended that weatherboard and fascia which are to be painted be primed on all faces with an oil-based primer undercoat prior to top coating. We also recommend that any sharp edges are rounded by sanding to ensure that they can be properly coated, and all cut ends are to be primed/treated with an approved end sealer. Radiator weatherboards which are to be stained or have a raw finish should be treated to hazard class H3.2. At ground level, the cladding shall finish a minimum of 100 mm above a paved surface or 175 mm above unpaved surfaces. The base of the cladding system must overlap any timber or concrete floor structure by a minimum of 50 mm, as required by NZS 3604/2011. Where cladding finishes against or overlaps other materials, such as flashings or concrete slabs, cladding must be offset horizontally by a minimum of 6 mm to prevent capillary action. External corners must be weatherproofed by one of the following methods: corner boxes with scribers, or mitre joints, or the use of corrosion-resistant soakers. A corrosion-resistant flashing shall be fitted behind the weatherboards at all internal corners. Window details should be installed in accordance with acceptable solution E2/AS1. Hume Pine New Zealand recommends painting of exterior timber products as per the New Zealand Standard AS NZS 2311/2017 Guide to the Painting of Buildings. Timber should be painted when the surface is dry and when the board is near the equilibrium moisture content EMC 14 to 18%. Priming or painting when the weatherboard is above or below the EMC can result in the weatherboard shrinking or swelling after installation or painting. Primed timber must be protected from exposure to the weather until ready to use. Dust off the timber and remove any dirt by washing to ensure a clean surface. Fill all nail holes with an exterior grade filler and spot prime with either a premium oil-based undercoat or acrylic undercoat. Lightly sand the surface where necessary to an even flat finish to provide a key for the new coating. Apply 2 coats of a quality acrylic top coat following the paint manufacturer's recommendations. With an extensive range of quality products, devoted customer service and value for money, you'll need look no further than Hume Pine for your timber boards and moulding profile requirements.